everyone, very good morning. I am so sorry. There was some technical glitch. My code and key was not working while I tried to go online. But now I think it's absolutely clear. I'm audible and visible to everyone. Could you please confirm that? Am I clearly audible and visible to everyone? Thank you so much for bearing with me. Thank you so much for sticking with me. Some technical glitch. I hope you understand. So welcome back to our editorial analysis. And I have a very interesting piece of article for you today. I have an article from the Aeon. We haven't done Aeon articles in quite a while. So we are going to be doing that article today. Let me show you what exactly is that about without wasting any time furthermore. So quickly, we have only one article that we're going to be doing today, and let's see what the article talks about. There's a lot of vocabulary to learn from that. There's a lot of inference to do from it, but the article, let me give you a disclaimer, the article is tricky. The main idea is supremely tricky. So I actually had to dig a lot to find an article that would put you on your toes, put you at the front, at the war front, and help you reevaluate what all practice we've done all this while. So this is what I have today, a tricky, supremely tricky article from the Aeon. Before I start off with that, two things. We have our last lap to NMAT going on starting 19th of September to 3rd of October. Make sure you watch all the live sessions if you're sitting for NMAT 2022. And if you're targeting CAT 2023, we have a comprehensive program that we have launched for you. You can enroll yourself for this program right away. This is our first page. Now, read this page, send me a done once you've read that, and tell me, is there an argument present in the page that the author is trying to put across, or it's merely setting up the premise for the main argument? Read this page and send me a done. It's tricky. That's pretty quick, Parth. That's lit. Now, since you're done, what line do you think the author has written to mention his own argument here? Or is it full of premise? Is there an argument the author is making here? Do you find an argument? No argument? Nihar, think carefully. There is one argument. Think carefully, Nihar. I'll help you identify what lines are arguments. Arguments are, or rather, these are claims made by the author, usually full of author's opinions. Can you find one of those lines? Yes, Parth. And constant reaffirming and revisiting the past for it to make sense. Yes, Amrit. Also, one more line where he says, I'm going to start a conversation with you. And the basic of why I want to have a conversation with you is because usually Americans as a society, they grapple with their history. They struggle with their history. Through this line, I can infer a few things. One, that the author is going to talk about historical events today. And two, the author believes that Americans grapple with their history. They struggle with their history. They probably misunderstand their history. To justify this line, the author starts talking about a video series. It's a documentary, okay, that talks about the 18th Amendment of the prohibition of the manufacture, sale and transportation of intoxicating liquors. Of course, this prohibition was later on lifted, but for some years, from 1919 to 1933, there was a prohibition. And very likely the author is going to describe this prohibition furthermore. I'm sure आप ये भी infer कर सकते हो यहाँ that he's going to furthermore describe the prohibition to justify his claim that he has made in the first paragraph that American society grapples with their own history. They don't understand their history. Does it make sense, everyone? How history is reflected in our present and it's tweaked by some people. Yes, Disha, absolutely correct. Would you guys agree with me with this mind mapping that we have done? Because now the next page is going to get trickier. Yeah? Chalo, let's move on with the next page and let's see how he continues with that. Okay? And I hope it makes sense to Nihar, you too as well. Okay. Page number 2. Read this page and send me a done. Okay. Very good, Parth. Now, my first question. How does the author look at this documentary? With positivity or with negativity? Plus, the author quotes a quote from the documentary. How does he look at this quote? With positivity or with negativity? How does he see it is my next question. Is there positivity in his eyes while he looks at the documentary, while he quotes this from the documentary by Mark Twain? Negatively, critically? All right. Okay. Before I answer this, let me tell you exactly why are we looking at how the author is understanding, how the author is looking at this scenario. Okay. Absolutely. All of you are correct. He looks at the documentary absolutely negatively when he quotes this Mark Twain's statement from the documentary. He is trying to criticize it. Now let's understand why are we looking at the positive and negative connotations. Guys, remember in the last class I had taught you that while you are trying to understand an article, even if it is supremely tricky, because this article I'll not consider it to be a cakewalk. Certainly not. It was a notch more difficult than the articles that we've been doing for quite a while. जब भी आप article पढ़ते हो कोई, whenever you're reading an article, remember in the article I need to know my main idea. I have to know it if I'm investing time, such amount of time for understanding the article. The main idea has to be crystal clear in my head. And the main idea will be dependent upon how the author looks at things he has quoted. That is the author's attitude. The attitude the author has will form the foundation of the bigger picture main idea that he would mention by the end of the passage. So whenever you're reading an article, if you're confused, if you're unable to understand the gist of it, see author का stance क्या है, author का attitude क्या है, what is his tone? Because main idea, tone, stance, attitude, all of those are interconnected. And you know, most of the questions can be answered by merely answering these two questions. What's the main idea? and what's the tone. So here we know the tone the author has is absolutely critical. Also, I had taught you how to mind map in the previous class. Let's see if I can link this page to the penultimate page. This page, the conclusion, it is then, ma'am, part, if there is a conclusion towards the end, your main idea will be the conclusion. But remember, not every passage will have a conclusion. Most of the times, part, you will find the main idea mentioned in the first paragraph, and the whole passage would continue to explain that. But if there are conclusions, Parth, remember, the author has written to draw that main conclusion towards the end. Link the first paragraph to the last one and you will understand if that conclusion is your main idea or not. I hope that makes sense, Parth. Getting back to the practice of mind mapping. Let's see if we could mind map here. The first page, what did it do? It made a claim that people grapple with American history. He quotes Alcohol Prohibition Act, the amendment that happened, right? This page gets to the documentary that talks about this prohibition, this amendment that prohibits the production and sale and transportation of intoxicating liquor. So this is an explanation of what the documentary talks about. And here the author mentions a very strong opinion that he disagrees with the documentary. He says this documentary is probably a farce, it's tweaked, it's incorrect. Can I also draw a conclusion here that the author, hi Fazan, that the author has criticized this documentary to prove his point in the first paragraph that Americans grapple with their history? Yes or no? I'll repeat my statement. Is this whole page the criticism to the documentary written to justify the author's claim that Americans grapple with their history? Absolutely, yes. Remember, if we are trying to find the main idea, I'll give you a very wise advice today. Be very attentive with what I'm telling you right now. When you mark the main idea or the summary questions, which are ample in CAT, if you are confused between two options, I think A and C are pretty close. I'm unable to eliminate that. एक बात याद रखना, whatever's written in the passage, every single argument, every single line, every single example written in the passage will be written to support your main idea. If A is your main idea, everything written will be written to support A or C, whatever is the correct answer. This documentary written to support your main idea. This quotation written to support your main idea. Author's opinions that this quotation is direct, eloquent, damning, authoritative, written to support your main idea. So if you're confused between two close options, see which option encompasses everything from the passage and not merely one instance, one line, one claim. Our main idea remains pending right now. We don't know what the main idea is. But let's discuss this page. The author says this quotation has been given from in the documentary, which was not actually said altogether by Mark Twain. He had said all these lines in different contexts. But this documentary mixes them up and says, these are fanatics, these are bad guys. He says that's wrong. There is a problem in this quotation. There is a problem in this documentary. What exactly is the bigger problem? We shall keep that pending. Let's move to the next page. Read this and send me a done. And tell me if you still get it. Is prohibition here mentioned just as an evidence or it has a part to play in the main idea? Part we'll have to figure that out by the end. I'll not comment on that. We'll have to figure out that if prohibition is the main idea or if history and our misunderstanding of history is the main idea. Chalo Amrit, next question for you. Is there an argument here by the author? Or is it full of explanation? Is there an argument the author is putting across? Or is it merely premise? Yes, there is. The paragraph where he justifies traffic is a very important paragraph. You see, yes, about the traffic, absolutely, Parth. See, let's understand the penultimate paragraph. Till now, we know the author says we grapple with our history. Let's take this documentary into the scenario which talks about prohibition of prohibition of selling and transportation of intoxicating drinks. He says every documentary, every movie will have a hero and a villain. In this documentary, who are the villains? The people who had prohibited the manufacture, sale, and transportation of intoxicating alcohol. Now, the author keeps it pending. If actually putting the prohibitionists in bad light is right or wrong, let's put that pending. The author makes a very big claim about traffic. Do you understand the author's claim about traffic? Supporting the main argument, the author is shedding light onto the example of prohibition and how it is misunderstood. Very good, Amrit. That it wasn't about the drunken part of the liquor, but illegal traffic of the liquor. Amrit, very, very good. Very good. I'm very proud of you. Amrit, you've been one of those students who's been coming live to my classes ever since the first, probably the second class started. And you are showing a tremendous graph. I'm very proud of you. Let's understand the opinion the author has about traffic. He says, generations and generations of social reformers and activists focused not in the alcohol in the bottle. Alcohol is intoxicating. We don't care about that. But also we don't care about if people are addicted or they are habituated of being intoxicated. It's about the movement of that liquor from a manufacturing unit to the hands of buyers. So he considers addiction not as bad as the traffic. He considers the traffic to be the evil, the production, the supply, the transportation to be the evil and not addiction. Because traffic ही नहीं होगा तो addiction तो होगा ही नहीं ना. So the prime culprit here is the traffic and not the addiction. Next page. Read this page and send me a done. There are claims here made by the author. Please identify those lines. Done, everyone? Are there arguments here in the page? If yes, which lines are those? Very, very important page, I think. This page could lead to many, many questions. What are the arguments? Where are the arguments? The second paragraph, yes, absolutely. The second paragraph is a very strong criticism, analysis to what exactly is going wrong. Chalo, mera pehla question, Parth and everyone else. Prohibition Act is a premise or argument? Prohibition Act का जो amendment था, is it the argument or the premise? Let's see if you've understood this. Let's see if you've understood the path. Mohit, bilkul sahi. It's a premise. Amrit, it's a premise. Parth, ये premise है. ये कैसे पता चलेगा ये premise है? How do I know that? Okay, how do I understand that? Premise leads to the main argument. एक बात बताओ, Parth, to make it clear and others to make it easier for you. देखो, actually Parth, मैं आपको बताती हूँ. Yes, Amrit. Yes, it is used to support the issue. जो चीज इशू को सपोर्ट करने के लिए यूज होती है ना, वो सिर्फ एक्सप्लेनेशन होती है. इट्स मेयरली द एक्सप्लेनेशन, एंड द एक्सप्लेनेशन विल ओनली बी अ पार्ट ऑफ द प्रेमिस. All those who have been coming regularly to my classes, I'm sure you're able to differentiate between the argument and the premise, and I'm sure you're helped with it while answering the summary based questions, the RCs as well. Prohibition Act was an example used by the author to make a claim that people misunderstand history. They have fallacies in their understanding. They have two major fallacies in their understanding. The two major fallacies are explained in the second paragraph. But to explain those fallacies, the author has used this amendment of the Prohibition Act as an example to justify his claim made in the first paragraph, if you remember that people misunderstand. They have a bias towards history. Okay, so this documentary, this Prohibition Act, all of this was a part of premise. We haven't ended our article yet, but इस paragraph से ये clear हो जाता है कि argument तो Prohibition Act है ही नहीं. Argument is people misunderstand history because they have fallacies, they have logical fallacies. Fallacies क्या होते हैं? What are fallacies? Fallacies are misunderstanding, an error in your logical thinking. That error is the fallacy here. There are two types of errors the author mentions. This paragraph can easily give birth to a question. Please understand what are the two errors people have. One, they think that I know everything about history. Two, they have a recency bias. The bias is that they will always try to understand history from the present context. If today it were valid, how would we understand history? Obviously, by linking today's events to the historical events. And this leads to a bias. This leads to a fallacy. We cannot link the present scenario to the historical scenario because they were happening in two different eras. So one, assuming you know everything. Two, recency bias. Both things are going to lead to logical fallacies people will have. Before I continue with the furthermore explanation the author has, I'm sure you are able to understand this passage by now. Hit the like button if you haven't done that yet, right now. And two, if you had commented under my last class's video, last Thursday's video, I have replied to each of the comment. There was a homework that I had given you. I'll be giving you a similar homework today. You have to comment under my video and I'll be replying to each comment. Mohit, I've added something to your summary that you had written. Please check that out. Okay? All right. So let's continue with the claim. He says this documentary is fallacious because it talks about prohibition but mentions prohibition only twice or thrice and then it disappears. He criticizes this documentary. Similarly, he says, why are examples like these fallacious? Because people have two kinds of biases. He explains those biases. Let's continue with the next page. Read this page and send me a done. My next question, what is the meaning of this quoted line? standing on the shoulders of giants. Who are giants here? Who are the giants the author is referring to here? Anyone? Who are the giants? Nobody? They have to build on what traditional historians have written about the past. Yes, giants are the historians. Absolutely correct. Giants are the historians who have studied history. They have explained history to us. He is merely a movie maker, right? His job is not to tell you history. Job is not to make you understand history. His job is merely to depict what the historians have said, to bring it to you. You will believe what the historians have said. He is merely a medium. So the giants are the historians. Their job is merely to stand on their shoulders and project the historian's view to the larger public. So can I blame these documentary makers for this fallacy? No. There's a bigger picture to it. Who is to blame? The historians are to blame. He blames them completely. Here in these lines, he says these historians have got it absolutely wrong because of the two biases mentioned in the previous page. He said, you did not understand history. You have been analyzing the history in a latent with your biases, the biases that were mentioned in the previous page, over and over and over again, thus giving a picture that's obscure and not clear. Now, I hope it's even more clear to you, Parth, that the entire argument is not about the movie makers, not about the Prohibition Act, but about how historians have biases in understanding history. Yes, Disha, these are historians. Okay? Untangling the secrets? No, Parth. Movie makers का काम ये नहीं है. Movie makers का काम is not untangling the secrets. That's the job of historians. Movie makers are only projectors to show. It's a medium to connect historians to larger public. Their job is to only showcase what historians have studied. Let's move on to the next page, everyone. Read this page and send me a done. Last page. Let's see if there's a conclusion the author draws. Could be part. Is there an additional conclusion the author draws, or he merely continues with his claim till the last page? Does he sum up everything by drawing a conclusion towards the end, or is the author just continuing with the claim the author had made in the beginning, justifying it in the middle, and then summing up the same claim towards the end? Let's see if you get it. There is no conclusion. He continues with his claim. He continues with it. What's the claim? The claim is historians have a very restrictive view of history. They have their own biases, thus leading to misinterpretation of history. Mohit, ये जो last line है, this might look like a claim with a conclusion to you. But ये claim तो उसने first paragraph में बना लिया था ना. He had already made this claim in the first paragraph. If this is a claim that he's already made, he doesn't conclude anything from the data. He continues with the claim he had made. And the claim, as I had already said, was about historians, how they misunderstand the history. So I hope the summary is clear to everyone. Now you have a little bit of homework today. I hope you loved this article. It was a tricky one, but the aim was to tell you if there is a tricky article for you, usko kaise break karna hai, and how to understand what the paragraph talks about by breaking it into smaller fragments by linking things to each other. That was the aim of the class. Your homework is to write down the tone under my video in the comment section, not in the chat box right now. You write down the tone, think carefully. After the class ends, write down the tone. I'll be checking each comment. And if you've loved the class, if you love these classes regularly, make sure you write good things about the class as well. I'll be glad to read that. It gives me a lot more motivation to continue with it. Make sure do not leave the class without liking it. If you're watching it recorded, make sure you comment under my video, share the video with your friends, and subscribe to our channel if you haven't done that yet. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Telegram, and download our app on Google Play. Make sure you do that. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a very, very good week. Work really hard. Read lots of articles. I shall see you again next Thursday. God bless you.